everybody. Welcome back to the Mindful Place Summit. I have a very special guest with us today. Her name is Lenore Skenazy, and she is the president of Let Grow, a nonprofit promoting childhood independence and resilience. So welcome today, Lenore.
Thank you. Thanks, Crystal.
Yeah,
and I'm really excited. I know behind you it says gratitude, right? So
it does.
Yeah, so thank you for having me here. Feeling grateful.
You're very welcome. Right. Thank you for taking the time. I'm really excited to learn more about the project that you run, the Let Grow project. So I wanted to take the moment, give you the mic here and explain what that's all about.
Thanks. First of all, thank you for having me. So Let Grow is a nonprofit organization based in America that is promoting childhood independence. And the way we are doing it is by coming up with ways to make it really easy to give kids back some of probably the same kind of independence you grew up with. Were you allowed to like play outside or walk to school or any of that, Crystal?
Absolutely. It was like, don't come home till it's dark, right?
Right. Wait for the street lights to turn on. I'm sorry, it's so hot where I am, and I have to close the windows or you will hear everything going on outside, which is generally a lawnmower. I don't know how they have lawnmowers 24/7 here, but they do. So, so the Let Grow project is a very simple and, as I said, free idea where a teacher gets the homework assignment that they give the kid, and the kid goes home and it says, Mom, look, it says I have to do something by myself, something new by myself, without you, without Dad, without somebody else. Can be with another kid. And then there's a whole list of potential things that the kid could do. They could ride a bike, run an errand, make dinner, learn how to cross the street. Just almost anything that most of us remember doing is just a normal part of childhood. Maybe it's something even that you remember doing at exactly your child's age that your child hasn't been doing yet because society became so much more protective and worried about kids than not that parents who were raising us didn't care, but it really is a very an anxious moment in parenting. And it's really hard to let go and let grow if you don't have a little push, or if you feel like you're the crazy one or you're the only one. But if everybody in your class or your school district, or now with home learning and remote learning, everyone in your neighborhood or you and your neighbors all decide to do the Let Grow project, then there's a bunch of kids who are playing outside and a bunch of kids who are going to the store. In fact, one school that did the Let Grow project, sort of a smallish town in Connecticut, it was K-5, so it had to be somebody 5th grade or younger, who did for his project. He went to the local market and he was buying whatever he was buying. I actually don't know. And everybody at the market was like, where's this kid? Is alone by himself? What's going on? And so finally, one of the clerks went up to this boy and said, excuse me, what are you doing here? Why are you here without an adult? And he said, oh, I'm doing my Let Grow project. And the clerk was like, okay, great, but what is that? And he said, well, I have to do something by myself. It's a school project. And the clerk said, okay. But after that, as kids started coming in for their Let Grow project, and everybody's getting a muffin or a candy bar, or God forbid, an apple, then it became so normal again. It's like, oh, it's a Let Grow kid. Oh, it's a Let Grow kid. And so that's what we're talking about. We're talking about renormalizing childhood independence for so many reasons. Reason A being that kids are growing up feeling kind of anxious and depressed, and to a certain extent passive, because there's so many things that they might have been ready to do that they're not allowed to do. They can't go to the park. They can't make up their own game. They can't walk themselves to school. Don't touch the stove, honey. I'll do that for you, because parents have been told so many things that they should be intervening and helping with and supervising.
So many rules, and that fear takes over, right?
Yeah, it's rules and it's norms. It's like what is it? 11% of kids now walk to school in the United States, where I'm based. I'm betting that when you were growing up, it was most of your friends probably walked to school. Is that true?
I think we walked to school 2-3 kilometers by ourselves through the forest. Totally different than now. Yeah.
Wow. And it's funny to think about walking through the forest is even more fantastic, because you're not just getting that fresh air and the independence and knowing that if it's interesting to you, you can stop and pet a dog or pick a flower. But the forest is just filled with fascinating stuff, probably more fascinating than the classroom in some way. There's bugs, and there's the sunlight through trees, and there's wind and rain. And so giving some of that back to kids is actually good for their mental health. And we've been taking it away because we've been so worried about, kidnappers, predators, molesters, whatever, but we haven't thought about what we're for the very unlikely danger of being kidnapped by, some stranger, we've taken away something that is extremely important to kids, which is being part of the world, becoming grown up, being seen as competent, and dealing with like, oh my God, there's a snake in front of me. What am I going to do? Or, I have to pass that mean lady's house and she's always yelling, learning to deal with the world and love the world, as opposed to being in the back seat of the car waiting to be deposited, sort of like, like a delivery. So the Let Grow project is just a way to make it very easy for the teacher to start inculcating some independence, for a parent to start inculcating some independence, and then for the parent to be amazed by what they see. Because when your kid does come back with the milk, or they walked the dog, or they went, on a bike ride and they came back and they're sweaty like me, I'm so boiling hot, and they're excited because it was their first time and they went to their friend's house. A parent, when I've interviewed parents or even seen parents do this, it's the joy that they are experiencing, almost vibrating with, is really out of proportion with what the kid did, which is something, often kind of minor, often short. But it's a revelation to the parents to realize, like, this is who I'm raising, this blossoming young person, a person, not just this baby. And I think that feeling is so powerful to the parent that it's like seeing your kid walk for the first time. It's like, oh my God, it's going to happen. It's happening right before my eyes. And of course, once a kid starts walking, you don't say, that was so great, but now you better crawl because it's closer to the ground and you got 4 points of contact and you won't fall over. You never say that because you're happy to see them at a new stage. Absolutely. And so the Let Grow project pushes parents into this new stage, and it allows the kid to see that the parent trusts them enough to let them go and do something on their own, which is great for their own sense of who they are and for the relationship with the parent. I'm not just a baby. I'm somebody who can be somebody.
I absolutely resonate with what you're saying. I think the project is brilliant. My personal experience resonating with what you're saying, I have a 10-year-old, and when she was 8, we allowed her to ride her bike to school. We're about, I would say, 4 city blocks from the school. But other parents were like, it was the pressures from other parents judging too, to say, like, you're letting her ride her bike. I said, well, she knows to check in with us when we're there. There's teacher friends that are there that send me a text saying she's arrived. And we created this plan. But what it did to her self-confidence, it gave her, because she's the oldest of the other 2 siblings, it gave her that boost of just self-worth that I can do this. And it was like letting the birdie out of the nest.
Exactly.
Trusting that, we can only control so much, but she took so much from that experience. And then, of course, with everything going on in the world right now, we've been homeschooling and they've been home and such, but it gave her that sense of self-worth and self-confidence that I felt that it was almost like indirectly she was living in a bubble because she has 2 younger siblings. And then when do you take that step to gain that, you can walk to the store and you can do these types of things. So I absolutely love the idea about your project. And my question is, how long does the project normally run? Like when you work with
that's an interesting question. Yes. Finish your question, because I'm sorry I interrupted.
No, absolutely. Just how long does the program normally run? Is it something that's continuous? Is it something that they build upon and continue each and every year? What does that
mean? Right. So first of all, it is up to the teacher and the school or the superintendent if it's from the district. But when I first started this project, it was years ago, and it was one teacher had come up with the idea, and I just took it from her. She allowed me to. And she was having her 6th graders do it once. And I thought, okay, that sounds great. And every year I would go and listen to the 6th graders talk about what had happened when they did their project. And it struck me as so transformative. It seemed fine doing it that way. And I'll tell you my favorite story in a second. But I just want to say that since then, as other schools and teachers have done it, everybody puts their own spin on it. And some do it once a semester, some do it once a month, some do it once a week, some let the kids do it as often as they want, and they all work. It really is what the teacher wants. I'll tell you teacher stories in a minute. But my favorite story from that first group of 6th graders doing the project was this one boy, and this is in New York City where I live. He decided that he was 6th grade. That's 13, I guess, 12 or 13. Maybe it's 11 or 12. In any event, a young adolescent decided that what he would do is ride the bus home by himself, to not even home. He's going to go pick up his little brother at his little brother's school. So very bravely, he got on the bus and he's sitting there and he's looking out the window and he's starting to get nervous. And then he's like freaking out because this is, where am I? These are not the thing. Where's the store? This is these big buildings. Where am I? And he said he was almost crying. But he went up to the bus driver and he said, I was trying to get to this street and I don't know where I am. What's going on? And the bus driver said, oh, I'll tell you what's going on. You got on the uptown bus because you got on that side of the street. You meant to get on the downtown bus. But look, here's a transfer. It's free. You just take it to the other side of the street, get out here. There's a bus stop. Wait for your bus to go, the downtown bus, get on it, and it will all be very familiar to you. You'll be going where you want. So the kid did that. But when he was telling the students in his class, everybody was talking about what they had done, and I was there to watch. And he said, as a matter of fact, and he opened up his wallet and he pulled out the transfer. And I was like, why do you have that? It is reminding him of the day that he was practically crying in public on a bus and got totally lost. And the kids were saying like, yeah, why do you have it? And then I realized like, wait, obviously there's a reason why he carries it. And I realized it was like, it's his golden ticket. Right? Here's proof. I can get totally lost. I can be flummoxed. I can be out of my mind with worry and fear, and I can get out of it. And if that's not wind beneath your wings, what is? Because it's great when things go wrong in kids' lives. And so often we're there to fix them and step in and intervene so they're not worried or scared or upset. But by him working through this very minor risk that seemed to him extraordinarily major, he has this nice foundation underneath him of like, I'm the kid who can. And he kept it with him because it reminds him, that, look, I earned my wings.
It's beautiful. That story gave me goosebumps because it gives them the ability to problem solve. And when you look back at those situations, how did you handle it? Right?
Right.
You're playing with, toys or whatever, and the toy breaks and you got to fix, like certain things, like you said, adults were always there to try to make sure that they stay safe, but creating a safe place that they can explore. And of course, just a little disclaimer, this obviously wouldn't be for the little ones. Right?
Yes, right.
Whoever's watching. But,
right.
Taking that opportunity to create a safe place for them to explore, a safe place for them to fail, but in a way where they utilize those tools. They ask the bus driver, and what do I do in a situation like this, right? And
yeah, and he had to figure it out on his own. It wasn't like his mom said, remember, if you get on the wrong bus, the first thing you do, it's like, kids are smart and creative and they improvise. And if you give them a situation that they have to get out of, that's when their brains are alive, as opposed to my mom will handle this, right? And you don't want a passive kid. And I printed out some things earlier today from these 7th graders. You asked how often do schools do the project. So after the once a year project, I visited a class that's doing a 7th grade teacher who said she found Let Grow because she was Googling like anxiety in young people and, antidote, especially free. And she found us and she called me and she said, I'd never seen young people this anxious. She'd been teaching for 20 years. And she said, and this year she had kids who, this was 2 years ago now. One kid came late to her class and hadn't had a chance to get lunch. And this is at a middle school in a suburban neighborhood. And she said, well, just go to the cafeteria and you can come a little late. It's fine. And the kid said, by myself? So even going through the halls of the school had become intimidating. And I think, how dare we, raise kids with so much attention and us always being there, that when they're expected to do anything, including walk to the cafeteria in their own school, it's intimidating, which it would be intimidating if you'd never done anything alone, right? If nobody had ever said, no, this is going to be okay. So in that class, she had the 7th graders write down, maybe I can find this on my screen, hang on. 7th grade, yes. She had 7th graders write down what they might be a little hesitant to try, but they were interested in doing for their Let Grow project, or for one of them. She had them do 20 in a year. And these are kids who were 12 and 13 writing down, I wasn't comfortable going into a crowded store with a bunch of strangers without my mom. And so that was interesting because a store is, filled with people. But when you start thinking of them as strangers, it's scarier than just, I wasn't, going into a
Well,
store.
stranger danger, right? We teach them little,
Right.
Flip that tone.
Right. So if if you're always used to being, there's always somebody between you and somebody else, it must feel a little strange, literally going in there by yourself. So another kid wrote, I was hesitant to try walking my dog alone because I was scared that he would get loose from the leash or a scary man would take me. I was too afraid to climb a tree because I was scared I was going to fall and break a bone. These are different kids. I wanted to try doing a wheelie on my bike, but I was scared I might hurt myself. I was afraid to try and cook. There's an open flame. And then the one that sort of broke my heart, which was, I was hesitant to use a sharp knife as my parents had never let me before. And, this wasn't even the only kid in that grade talking about how he or she, I actually don't know, hadn't been allowed to use a knife. And the sad thing to me is that the parents are trying to protect them from, falling or getting a nick or a cut or being scared. And in the process, they've taken out these building blocks of what you were talking about before: confidence, resilience. I did cut myself a little, but I didn't cut off my finger. Now let me go back, and tomorrow I'll pay a little more attention. So how do we expect kids to develop all these attributes that we want them to have, like confidence, like curiosity, like a little bit of risk taking, climbing a tree or something like that, if we never give them the opportunity to develop? They don't develop out of nothing. I can't go like this and a loaf of bread appears. You got to have some ingredients to make it, right? And we've taken those ingredients out, and I don't even blame the parents, because I feel like this is a society that is so overwhelmed with fear of the 1 in a million chance of something terrible happening that we scream at parents who let their kids, wait in the car while the parent dashes in to get pizza, or walk to school, or play in a park with a younger brother and there's no, SWAT team overhead watching them. So we have to change the culture, and the easiest way to change the culture is by pushing a group of kids, whether that's a group of kindergartners or 7th graders or the church youth group, or it's all of us, remote learners right now still doing the Let Grow project, and you compare notes on Zoom. So that's it. It's just a very simple way to renormalize the independence that kids need to grow up, healthy and strong.
Brilliant. One question about age range. What would you say would be a good age to start the program, or what grade, if you're referencing that?
That's interesting. So we had been doing it kindergarten through 8th grade. And with our project, if you download it, so if you go to letgrow.org and you click on schools, it's there. Or for home use, now that we're in remote learning, there's the Let Grow Independence Kit. And so kindergarten, you can play on the front lawn. You and a friend, maybe your older brother, can be playing in the park, up to, make dinner for your family. And different age kids will think like that's a duh, or that's a scary thing, depending on, where they're growing up and what the expectations are. But I just ended up talking to some early childhood educators and making a list for younger kids. Things that some parents are afraid to let them do are great, like spin around till you fall down, balance on the curb, break an egg, make your own toast. I mean, we forget. This mom once told me that her kindergartner, the kindergarten teacher, took her aside and said, I just want to tell you, I'm recommending your child for the gifted and talented program. And the mom said, that's nice. Why? And the teacher said, her scissor skills are just extraordinary. And the mom said, I'm actually not that surprised, because we adopted her at age 3 from an orphanage in Haiti, where she had been peeling her mangoes with a machete. So we've gotten so used to thinking kids can't do anything that these 7th graders are saying, I would love to use a knife. And not that I'm recommending, Let Grow does not say, machetes, they're for 3-year-olds now, but they sort of are, depending on the cultural expectations. And our expectations have gotten so low every year that, kids are afraid to, scramble an egg because they think that's an open flame. It's not an open flame. It's a stove. You put a pan on it. If there's an open flame, you should have a pan on top of it, and that will really help. So it's just a way of making it easy for parents to do what maybe they feel like they've been told not to do. Like, shouldn't I keep my kids safe? And what if they hurt themselves this way or that way? It's like, we trust you to let go. And if something happens, if there is a nick or a little burn or a boo-boo, we're not going to say you're a terrible parent. We're going to say that's normal.
Absolutely. And the whole let go, let grow. I love that. And
you figured it out. Originally our original name was Let Go and Let Grow, Let Go and Let Grow. And then we realized that's too long, but you got it. You figured it out.
Absolutely. Well, and a lot of the times this fear comes in from parenting, right? Or maybe, we're moving through the world saying, well, our children, and we want to make sure they're safe. But what we're actually doing is, like you said, hindering their development in a state where other cultures, right, they let their children play outside all the time and there's no supervision, and they come in our culture and everybody's judging and going, well, why is that happening? And letting all that go, understanding the importance of these foundational skills that they can build upon. And I'm just so inspired by our chat, because I'm now, going through my mind, expanding my own awareness of my own parenting to go, okay, well, wait a second, maybe, and questioning those things. And that's the great part about expanding my own awareness. And how can I allow my children to grow in an environment where I'm removing some of those boundaries. We talk about safe, risky play and certain things where the children need to wrestle, and certain things. And, you let one bad experience or story, the children in the tree, that hit home for me, as my children were always climbing up and down the tree, and then the neighbor's child fell out of the tree. So instantly, what did I do? I shut down the tree. Right? So just
maybe chop down the tree. Right?
Like, well, and creating the safe mechanism where it's like, okay, this is what we'd like you to explore, and here's some things to think about, but explaining those things, but allowing them to move and flow through it so that they can learn at their own pace. And when you said the tree story thing, I thought, okay, but it's me taking ownership to really expand my awareness on my parenting, and as I move and flow with the littler ones, getting into the preteens is a whole new story.
Oh my God, it must seem so far away. Yeah.
Absolutely. So
I wanted to say one thing when you're saying taking ownership. In a way, we give parents too much ownership. We think that like anytime anything goes wrong, it's because they weren't paying enough attention, and what's her problem? And kids are part of the world. They've always been part of the world. You're remembering your own childhood as being part of the world. And the idea that anything bad that happens to a kid is because a parent was irresponsible or not vigilant enough is a new one. I mean, it used to be able to think that like, kids get into scrapes, fate is fickle, God has a greater plan. There's a lot of other ways of framing things being imperfect, which they will be as you raise your kids, rather than, oh, that mom, and we've gotten so judgmental. And I say, stop taking so much ownership of everything. For one thing, kids want their own lives, right? So you don't own those. So it's a little freeing. It's very freeing for them, but it's freeing for you too, to realize like you can't control for every variable. And it's a burden to think that you can, because you will always be upset when anything bad happens. It's
Absolutely.
Just par for the course.
And thank you for that. I know that I've parented my oldest different than I've parented my younger ones, and giving her that freedom and expansion to learn, and like you say, have that empowerment to do that. That's my biggest takeaway from our chat today. And I'm super excited to learn more about the Play Club kit. If you could just let us know. I know we're going to be posting that below for all of our watchers today.
Right. So we do have 2 school initiatives that are also good for the home. And one is the Let Grow project that we were just talking about. But the Let Grow Play Club is the idea that kids need free time just to play without us organizing the game, solving the spats, deciding with the teams, who's in or out. They have so many organized activities that they need some of the time when they have to negotiate the differences, when they have to decide, is it a do-over or not, when they have to compromise, when they have to make sure the other kid is having enough fun so that they'll keep playing. So if I always want to be Batman, I can't always make you Robin, or you're going to go off and play with somebody who allows you to be the Joker or something like that. So we recommend that schools stay open either before or after school for this kind of mixed age free play. There's a place, it's a safe place for kids to be, whether you're in a safe neighborhood or not. There's mixed age kids together, which means the little kids are, want to sort of hold themselves together, excuse me, to be sort of grown up and like the cool 7-year-olds. And then the older kids get to be leaders, and they get to be empathic and sort of nurturing and also cool. Right? And if you're unpopular with your fellow, 7-year-olds, but you're giving the 5-year-olds a piggyback ride, well, then you have a reason to come to school that day, because at least the 5-year-olds are going to high five you in the hallway and be happy to see you. So we really believe in the idea of kids having their own fun without an adult intervening. There's an adult there, but not intervening. So the Let Grow Play Club is that at school, but our Let Grow Play Club kit is if you want to do this with the other parents on the block, if you want to do it with, your cousins who come over every Saturday, if you want to do it with the people in your bubble or your pod during the coronavirus, it just is it comes with a bunch of ideas for games that you can teach kids so that then they can go play themselves. Mother May I, kick the can, kickball, whatever. And then there's even a nice little waiver, or I don't know what you call it, a little thing that you sign that says, I realize that my kids are not going to be happy every minute, and that's okay. And I won't intervene unless there's something, physically, seriously dangerous going on. And the kids have to sign that I won't leave the premises without alerting somebody first or organizing that beforehand. And that, if I do deliberately hurt another child, I can't play for the rest of that day, but I'm welcome back the next day, so that there's always a new leaf and they can learn and, get what you want out of play, which is them sort of becoming socialized enough. So it's another one of these free things we have, and your viewers and listeners are welcome to download it. And I think you're including a link.
Absolutely. We'll have that link there. I just love that. And I can't wait to check it out and integrate some of these within my family, because as I'm looking for resources for my eldest and also for my younger two, but she seems to be the one that's almost seeking and saying like, oh, start questioning like, hey, can I go to the park with my friends, and certain things, like she's seeking that independence more. So very inspired to speak with you and to learn about your project. I just want to share my gratitude for taking the time out and connect you. If there's anything, we can do to support you, just let us know as well.
That's great. Well, here's what I like. I like when people write me stories, especially if they are having their kids do something on their own. So I'm just going to give you my name, which is Lenore, Lenore, at letgrow.org. Drop me a line. I write back to people, not on some mountain anywhere. I'm boiling in my summer cabin. So I'd be delighted to hear from you. And especially if you're proud of something that you've sort of grown into, you let your kid walk to the park with the older brother or the older sister, tell me. I mean, or share it on our Facebook page, because people are inspired by each other. And once again, what we're trying to do is re-normalize the idea that when adults step back, kids step up. So if you're doing that at all, tell me.
Beautiful. Thank you. We will share stories, and anyone else listening, you've got the email, so please share your story with Lenore as well. Thanks. You.
Thank you, Crystal.